Learning objective 3, manufacturing costs in financial statements. Now, in this video, we will demonstrate how to compute cost of goods manufactured, and then we will prepare financial statements for a manufacturer. All right, let's do this. All right, so for this chapter, our focus is manufacturing company. The financial statement of a manufacturer and a merchandisers are usually very similar, but they are different in two ways. They are different in the current asset section of the balance sheet and the cost of goods section of the income statement. So in the manufacturer's balance sheet, there are three categories of inventory. We have the raw materials, we have the work in process, and then we have the finished goods. In the income statement of the manufacturers, they compute cost of goods sold by adding the beginning finished goods inventory to the cost of goods manufactured, and then we subtract our ending finished goods inventory. At the end of the day, we have again our cost of goods sold. For us to be able to find this cost of goods sold, we need to calculate our cost of goods manufactured. Now, cost of goods manufactured. I want us to pay a little bit of attention here. So at the other slide, we added the beginning finished goods inventory to the cost of goods manufactured. And I mentioned that we were going to learn how to calculate or compute the cost of goods manufactured. I'm going to explain this using an example. Hopefully that helps you to understand it better. So assuming that on your first day of the year, say January 1, 2021, your company had some furnitures in various stages of production. In total, all these partially completed manufacturing units are what we call the beginning work in process. So furniture that were worked on during the previous year, 2020, but are not yet completed, but we're going to complete them in 2021. We cost that beginning work in process inventory based on what the manufacturing cost that was incurred in the previous period. Okay, so whatever it was that we incurred in 2020 to make those products, even though they are still work in process, that's the way we're going to cost them even in 2021. So in order to complete the furnitures you are making in this current period, what you do is you're going to incur more costs. So this cost could be the direct material, direct labor, or manufacturing overhead. The total of the cost incurred is what we call the total manufacturing cost for the period. Okay. Now, the sum or the addition of the work in process, the beginning working process from the previous year and the total manufacturing cost in the current year is what we call the total cost of work in process. So at the end of the year, your company has some partially completed furnitures, okay? These are going to be called what? Your ending work in process. Remember, if we remember in Financial Accounting 101, your ending inventory is usually your beginning for the next year. Okay, so when we subtract the ending work in process from the total cost of work in process, we have our cost of goods manufactured. So beginning work in process plus your total manufactured, that's what cost you incurred in this period, that will give you the total cost of work in process. Now, when we subtract our ending work in process inventory, that gives us our cost of goods manufactured. So when we have this, we're able to compute our cost of goods sold. Okay, so just to reiterate what we have said in the last slide, the cost assigned to the beginning work in process inventory are the manufacturing costs incurred in the previous period. Now, total manufacturing cost is the sum of the direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead incurred in the current period. Now we have this formula to help us. It's a schedule. Again, I want to just iterate that we need to understand the flow, or we need to understand the formula, because we may be told to find the beginning work in process and every other information will be given. We can be told to find, what is direct material or direct labor. You know, they're going to give you some other information and tell you to find something. And we're going to do one example so that you can understand how these questions can be worded. All right, so we have our beginning working process. We're going to add our direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead cost. That gives us total manufacturing cost. When we add that total manufacturing cost to our beginning working process, that gives us the total cost of work in process, okay? We now subtract our ending working process, and that gives us the cost of goods manufactured, okay? And again, that is what we use to find, you know, our cost of goods sold. All right, so we're going to do an example real quick. But before we go into the example, I want to encourage you to pause, read the question, try to solve it yourself and see if you can, and then come back to see how we solved it together in the class. All right, this question says Falcom Company has the following data: direct labor 209,000, direct materials used 180,000, total manufacturing overhead 208,000, and then the beginning work in process is 25,000. We're told to compute a total manufacturing cost and total work in process. When we know that our total manufacturing cost is the sum total of the costs we use in producing a product in this current year. So we have our direct material. So this is for A. We have our direct material, which is 180,000. We have our direct labor. Direct labor is 209. For some reason, I'm just used to starting with material. You can start it in any order. And I have my MOH. MOH item as manufacturing overhead cost, which is 208,000. And then we add it together. We have 597. Okay. That hopefully was your answer. And then for B, we're told to compute the total cost of work in process. Okay. So the total work in process is going to be the addition of your total manufacturing cost plus your beginning work in process. Here we have our beginning work in process to be 25,000. And then we have our total manufacturing, and that gives me 622. Okay, and this becomes our total cost of work in process. So I'm hoping that's what you got. Look through. If you have any questions, always remember that you can reach out to me. In our second example, it says the following are incomplete manufacturing cost data. Determine the missing amount for these three independent situations. Okay, so just like I was saying in the previous slides, in this case, we were told to find the total manufacturing cost. So it's going to be as, you know, just as the formula is. We have 40,000, which is direct materials, plus direct labor, 61, plus manufacturing overhead, and that gives us what our total manufacturing cost should be, which you should have 151,123. Now in the other one, we have the direct materials used missing, and we're told to find our direct material, but we have every other information. So back to algebra math, right, or math in school. All right, so for B, 296,000 minus manufacturing, which is 140, 123, minus 75,000, and that should give us 81. Okay, so our direct material use will be 81. So here I have 81. Here I have, I hope these are things that you two got. If you did not, try to find out why. If you have questions, always reach out. The next one says direct labor. That's what we're looking for. We're going to do it the same way we did the other one. We have 310. We're going to subtract 55 and then subtract 111, and that should give us 3. Okay, so that means our direct labor is 1, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, so 144,000. Okay, if you have questions, please let me know. We're going to move over to the next learning objective, and I hope to see you there.